You all set to go?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Perfect. Thank you. And hello, everyone. Good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever on the planet you're based. I'm based in Sydney, and I would like to extend very warm welcome to you from a very cold and windy Sydney today. I'm going to be presenting on Dynamics Field Service hidden gems or hidden features. But before I start, I'll just quickly introduce myself. So as I mentioned, I'm Ali. I am Dynamics practice lead slash architect in Virvada. And like this community, I have passion for dynamics. I'm interested in playing with and experimenting with dynamics, particularly field service, and the other things that work with field service, like Power Automate and the exciting things happening in the Azure world. And for example, exciting things happening in the Canvas app and all those things happening in this world. And so what I do, I share my experiences. I write about my discoveries and I write about the stories of field service on my website. And so we will be taking questions in the end, but if you have any question, any feedback, or anything that you would like to discuss with me, please go to my website. Please write to me, and I would love to have a virtual coffee with you. I'm also writing a series on beginners to field service. So have a look, and I hope you will find it useful if you are new to field service. And then other than field service and tech and work, I think one last bit about me is I was recently started running. I'm not sure I qualify as to call myself a runner, but it has been an exciting new habit, and I'm looking forward to running my first marathon whenever it happens, maybe this year, maybe next year. So I think that's enough about me. I will jump onto the content of the slide, and I will actually start with the meta of the slide, right? Why this topic came into my mind. And this actually all started with a story. You all have stories about Dynamics and field service and software implementation. So my story actually with Dynamics field service a few years back, when I started, I was shocked in the pleasant way when I started working on field service. And I'm sure many of you share that background with me. Like I came from the background of working with the Dynamics customer service and Dynamics sales. And when I started with the field service, I was pleasantly surprised. There's so many moving parts. There's so many exciting features. There are so many functions, and there are screens like Shuttleboard, which really have no parallel. And so it was all very exciting. But what happens then as a consultant when you want to, or as a practitioner, or when you are implementing Dynamics field service, however you are interacting with field service, what you do then is you understand two things. You understand, like any software, you would like to understand what does it do, and what are all the functions, what are all the possibilities. So it all comes down to feature set. And then what happens is you start compartmentalizing them. So you have that compartment or bucket of known knowns. And known knowns are features which you know that they are possible. You can do them, and this is how you do them. Or you know that the feature will, using that feature, it will take you up to this limit or up to here. And from that point onwards, you can extend it. You can do configuration, so you can do customization. So that's a known known. And then there are known unknowns. Known unknowns are those features which you do not know about what they are, you have the function, but you know that feature is there. So for example, maybe a few months back, or maybe it's been a year now. If a year back, somebody would have asked me, hey, Oli, how does Dynamics Field Service talk to IoT Central or IoT Hub, or eventually to IoT devices? Can Field Service talk to them? I might have said that, yes, it does. I don't know how, because I haven't explored that, but I know that I saw that somewhere in some event talk, or I saw that in the documentation. Does the heading? I didn't read through that, but that's there. And that's also good because as practitioners, we know that that feature is there. And when time comes, business users ask for that, the organization or the organization where you're implementing field service, they're ready for that further transformation or further changes. At that point of time, you can go and explore and read and then implement it. But then there is a third bucket. And the third bucket is the unknown unknown. And unknown is where you do not know what you do not know. And frankly, if you have been implementing field service for some time, maybe those features are not where which you may encounter in every project, but they are there. So for example, if today, if somebody asked me, if I'm talking to a customer, for example, and customer is asking me, hey, Ollie, we have these standard prices and priceless items, and we've got these standard products and services. But when it comes to this specific customer, that is our gold customer. We want to give them 15% discount on all these services. So all the work order products, all the work order services, they are entitled to 15% discount. And then if do not know what I do not know, I might say, I can make two mistakes. Either I would overestimate. So I would say I would overestimate an existing feature. So I may say, yeah, maybe work order product does that, or maybe work order service do that. It should be doing that. So I overestimate and I overcommit to customer. Or I go to the customization round. I say, yeah, I can make it happen. I'll write something. I'll boom make it happen, right? And both approaches would not be good approaches because they either will fall flat or um, after some time when I discover something or somebody comes and looks at the implementation, they would say, hey, Ali, why didn't you use entitlements? And entitlements is a feature in Dynamics. It's there. And that's what is important in the world of field service. It's to me that because there are so many things there's so many amazing features and functions, is then there may be things which you may not have encountered, but they are there in Dynamics, and they all are in unknown unknowns. So I was thinking about it, and around a year back, what I started doing, I started my cheat sheet code. And so what I did, I started with a list of items, which if customer asks me, I know that there is a feature in Dynamics which does that. Now that feature I can use to do all out of the box implementation, or I can use it and then configure it, or I can extend it, further customize it. And so that list is the focus of today's talk. I would like to share that list with you. This is an ongoing list. I'm sure all of you have that list, and somewhere in some type of shape or format. And so that is what this talk is about. And the next thing is, before we jump onto the list itself, I'd like to actually quickly talk about the structure of the talk and the content. The structure basically, where would you find all these hidden features? Basically, the first thing is the database itself, and mostly because these features are not which you may encounter in every project. But my hope is, we're looking at when I'm sharing this list with you, that you may encounter them in one talk or in one project or another. And the first thing where these features come from, the source of them or the hidden features, is the database. So what happens is you're talking to customers and you're talking to your business users, and they're talking about a certain requirement, and then you may have that slow and fast thinking sort of mind patterns, and then you may say that this is that feature and this is that entity. uh, why can't they be married? And maybe it's not very visible when you look at the user experience, but when you go to database, you may find out that, and it has happened to me a lot of time, that hey, these entities are linked. They may be linked directly, or they may be linked from the third entity. And so that's amazing. So that's the first source of these hidden features. And then we have got these different types of settings. And I think the key to a lot of these hidden features or functions or lesser known features are the settings. So we have got field service settings, we have got resource settings, we have obviously got other settings, we have got mobile app, and we also have got shuttlerboard settings. And I think that will further extend with the new things coming up. And that's amazing. We have got so many different things, but then this is where you can find, this is where you can mine, and when it comes to requirements, you can look for that particular feature, and then you can basically extend your list and share with this community. So that's what is the source of the source of my features are. And the next thing is the way this talk is structured is I'll wear a hat of a business user. So I'll talk about the business requirement, and then on the next slide, I will wear a hat of a consultant, and I'll talk about the feature. And then we'll look at either the screenshot or the demo, depending on the time. All right, so without further ado, just jumping on the hidden gems list. As you can see, they basically are across all the different features that we have in Dynamics, almost all of them, Dynamics Field Service. And I'll start with the first one. And I'm wearing the hat of business user now. So what are we looking for? Well, we are looking for a cost of overtime work and cost of traveling separately. So we want that separately, but we want it to be marked up as well. So imagine if I have got a team of resources, and it's a particular type of they have got this particular skill set, and they work on this particular domain, and their cost which is charged to customer is, let's say, X amount of dollars. But if they are asked to work overtime, we want to mark that up to 50% more, so which is basically 150%. Or if they have to travel to go there, maybe some remote site to do that work, that's another markup. Or if they are working over the break times, then that's another. That could be another markup. So my requirement as a business user is to basically just mark up the cost of my resources depending on the type of work they are doing. If it's a normal work, that's basically normal work, but anything other than that, like traveling and overtime and break, all of that, I want it to be charged differently. That is my requirements. Now, next slide. What do I have in the system? What I have in the system is resource pay types. And resource pay types is that out of those features, which basically you can go in and set your resource pay types. You can set the you can set the markup, and then you can just mention them in your settings. So I am very quickly now going to jump on to field service, and I'll go to resources. And basically, it's so if I look at this one over time, you see this is just basically a very simple record. All it has is the hourly markup, right? It's 150%, and it's called overtime. And now I've got an example here, which I just have to know that which one that example is. Okay, so I will go to this particular work order, and so that's work order 109. And I go to the bookings. And so what happens is when you complete the booking, the booking is completed, then it generates booking journals, right? And so before we go there, very quickly, this is our resource. And you can see that this resource's hourly rate is $100, right? So, but what happens is when we go to the booking journals, right, you can see that this guy actually worked overtime. You will see the unit cost here is $150. So it automatically set the unit cost of this type of work, which is an overtime work. So it link that to pay type, and then automatically calculates that this cost is going to be more. And so basically you set the resource pay type, and then how it did that, where did it pick it from? Basically which I meant Dynamics, actually, and we are in Dynamics Field Service settings. So I'm in the settings app. And here on this first tab of Dynamics Field Service settings, we have got resource pay types. So we can basically set the pay types for normal work, closure, business closure, travel, overtime, and break. So we have got these 5 options. We can set the pay types in the pay type list, and then we can put our markup, and then we just have to mention them in the settings. And because we have got the work hours for the resources already set in the work hours, then it will basically calculate and then put the right cost on the booking journals. So that is how we resolve that problem. And I have got I will share this slide later on, but I've put under each feature, I've put the link to either the top ranking link on Google, or mostly it's the Microsoft documentation where you can go and further explore this feature. So that was the business problem number one. Let's go to business requirement number two. So business requirement number two says that, well, we have got different types of services. And let's say I'm talking to a business user who have got, it's a service organization. They provide all these services and they've got their field staff, which goes on the field and make installations or fixes existing equipment. They do all these kinds of work. And now, what are they looking for? The first one is looking for, we have got this fixed service charges for that particular service. So imagine it's a device installation. So when my resources go out and install this device, we want to charge flat $250. Flat. I'm not concerned it takes 5 minutes or it takes 50 minutes. I don't care. It's just I just want to charge $25, right? Or in some other business, or maybe in the same business but different types of services, there might be a requirement for service charges, but they are costed in a different way. So they are costed in a way that if just the arrival of the field technicians or field service, your field staff, just the enablement of that service will cost X some dollars amount. So let's say $25. So if you want to install network equipment in your office, for example, or in your home, that's more likely now, then the booking of the service will cost $25. And once they arrive, and then if they work for an hour or 2 hour or whatever it is, then that cost will be based on the time. So there are these two components to the charges. So that could be another requirement. Or there's a third type of requirement where you might say that the first 50 minutes or first 15 minutes is free, and anything above that is going to be charged. So all of these service charges, how do we do that, right? So the answer is we can use a field service price list, and that is that excellent entity in Dynamics. So we obviously have got price list, which is sort of core of Dynamics product across the different types of products. But in field service, we also have got field service price list, which actually lets you to define 3 different pricing mechanisms. There's a flat fee. That is when you're not concerned about the time. And then you've got the minimum charge amount, which is the charge amount which needs to be charged. And then there's a charge duration where you can say minimum charge duration. You can say that this much is free, and anything beyond that basically will be charged. And where you can find it is basically, again, field service settings. So we are in this settings area, and then we go to price list, and then we go to my sample field service price list. And so that is basically your price list record. And then you go to field service price list items, and that's where you can define the service itself. Which service are we talking about? That is that service. And then you can talk about what is the flat fee? Is it a flat fee item in the first place? Yes or no? And then the charge amount and all of that. And you also actually have capability to do the duration rounding policy, round up, round down, and all of that. So all you have to do is to basically set up your services, then set up the field service price list items, and then appropriately put the charging mechanism there. That's it. Let's move on to the third, and I've got a few links here where you can further go and explore this feature. The third one, okay, I think this is probably not a very lesser known, or maybe it's a little bit has been in the limelight. So you may have encountered this one in a number of implementations. So the requirement is we want the services to happen in a specific location. So imagine it's a franchise business. So resources would have to go to this particular franchise and install something, but the cost will go to the owner. Or it's a business which has a head office and has got all the different offices across the city or across the region, and services are required in individual regions, but the invoices will go to the head office. And the best way to do that out of the box is we have got these two, basically one entity account, but we have got these two different definitions, service account and billing account. And billing account is where if you set the billing account to the work order, that's where the invoicing will go. And billing account is actually links to the service account. So what happens is I've got this one small out of the box actually data where I can probably go and quickly show you that one. So this one, for example, so this is account, and this particular account has this is a datum fabrication, And this account has got a billing account, which is a datum corporation. And so what happens is when I create a work order against this particular service account, it will automatically populate the billing account as a datum. And what also happens if you do not have a billing account, then your service account and billing account becomes the same, which is a normal probably scenario. But if you want to have that different types of the service accounts, you can basically set it through here. And that becomes your sort of metadata of the implementation, then on the base of which the work orders and the bookings happens. And obviously, you can use it in a different ways based on the size of the organizations and how their financials work. Cool. So that's the service account and billing account. Next, we are going to move on to the business requirement number 4. Okay, this one is interesting. What happens here is service territories. Service territories are important in a lot of businesses. What happens is if you have got the service, if you have got the subcontractors and they are working for your organization, and you get your call center is receiving a call, the first thing they want to do is they want to identify the territory so that the scheduler can actually book the subcontractor working in that particular territory. And the exciting thing is it's all possible out of the box. What we have in Dynamics, I'm just mindful of time, so I'll be showing you more screenshots and less a demo. But it's actually the story starts from the settings where we have got postal codes and we have got territories. And so what happens is you set up your territory hierarchy, and then you set up the postal codes under that territories. And what then happens is when you are creating accounts and you're putting in the details, as soon as you populate the postal code, Dynamics automatically populate the territory. And that information can then be used on the schedule board or on the scheduling assistant. So identification of service territories is all possible with this exciting feature, again, out of the box. This is why the fifth business requirement, customer entitlements. And I quickly discussed this one earlier on this in this talk, but this is actually about giving the discounts or having different pricing or having free services based on either customer or based on asset or based on product or based on service types, based on all of these different factors. And the great thing is all possible using entitlements. So if I go to entitlements and I have got so entitlements is an entity which is used across the Dynamics, so you can use this. You can see entitlements. It could be case entitlements, but I've got one here, which is am I in the right? Sorry, I'm not on the right tenant. So this is where you basically set up the entitlement. You set up the entitlement for a specific account, and then you can mention that, for example, this one is a premium customer discount. It is for a specific customer, and it says a 50% discount. But the good thing is you can actually mention the entitlement to come into play based on product, service, or any asset categories, or any of these things. And entitlement actually gets linked to the work order product. And so that's how it basically affects the pricing. So again, out of the box feature, entitlement. Next, work order number. This one is interesting. I recently actually discovered this one. And I'll show you what happens is in the field service, I'm going to work orders. And this is actually important when you have an integration with another system, and you're creating work orders here, and maybe there's an ERP, which is then getting the data from Dynamics. And in those integration scenarios, the sequence is important, right? So say this one, first 3, you can see that I have got 1, 3, and 5. Right, and then I've got a list which has got nothing missing. So out of the box, actually, what happens is when you create a work order record, as soon as you click here, all right, and you click on new, it comes up with the work order number. But if you do not save it, if you cancel it, that number will be gone, right? And the next time you create another record, and then you will have missing things like I have just showed you on this my screen. And the way to resolve it actually very simple. So again, it starts from these settings, and when you go to settings, you've got this feature up there, which is opt-in. So if I go to my another environment, in this environment, I have not enabled this. So what happens is when you go there, you see this opt-in feature on the top. And what happens is it's a one-way traffic. So if you basically opt in, then you just have to opt in, and it gives you that sort of a confirmation. And then it basically, most likely, there could be exception scenarios when you're offline, or if you're on the field. But mostly what happens is it actually gives you a consistent sequence without missing any numbers. All right, next one. Copy paste resource calendars. This is very important. The rostering information. If you're working on Dynamics and if implementing for customers who have got morning shifts and evening shifts and all those sorts of things, basically the best way to set it up is to use resource calendars and the work hour templates. And work hour template is basically a feature in Dynamics where you can basically set up the resource, which is your sort of a reference resource. And then what happens is when you basically copy set the calendar. So for example, I've got day shift and night shift here. I've got these resource templates and these templates have got just one reference user. And all then you have to do is to select all of these users, right? Multiple users, and set calendar. And when you do that, automatically calendar gets copied. It copies the work timings, and it also copies the time off. So which is great. Basically do the entire copy paste there. All right, the next one, reporting requirements. I think this is one is important from the booking perspective. What happens is if you would like to have booking on the individual booking statuses, like your resources are status of the work order or the booking is in progress, but within in progress, if quality audit is going on, or you're waiting for parts, or you are doing the work, but some inspection is going on. If you want to have the reporting on all these individual milestones, versus where you just want to know that how much is the traveling time and how much is the in progress time. The way to control that, or way to use the entity in the reporting, is the booking timestamps. So booking timestamps, of course, basically makes it's a log entity. It's a logging sort of entity which audits every booking update. But what you can do in the settings again is to set it up to either be recording a timestamp on per booking status change or per field services status change. So that's something which is very valuable and just works out of the box. Next one, time entries. And I think this one is, I've seen the pattern where this is pretty common, that customers do not want their field resources to do the work and then also spend a lot of time in doing the time entries. And one way to do that, to make it or sort of auto-generated, is to use this feature again in the settings where you can set the sorry, I've got probably a wrong screenshot here, but basically in the settings, you can go and update the time entry settings, and it basically auto-generates it, basically auto-generate the booking timestamps. So it could be manual, and I think by default it's manual, but if you set it to auto-generate, it will auto-generate your time entries, and then your resources as a field resources can basically just go and have a look and then review. I probably just go one more, and I will share the slide. I've got 15 here, but I will just do one more in the interest of time, and then I'll share this presentation. Inventory purchasing, a very common scenario is you would like to, sometimes based on the type of product or the material, you would want to do auto booking as soon as the products are allocated. You want to book them on the inventory, and if you want that, then, or the other requirement could be you do not want products to be allocated if their level is 0, and both of them are possible through just a simple flag, and that basically makes it happen. So I'm just going to just probably jump on my last slide, the second last slide, where I've got all these features. I've mentioned all these features and I've added the details. I'm hoping that this will be useful for you. I'll share that on my LinkedIn and on my website. And if you have any feedback on this talk, or if you want to like to discuss any of those features, and you have basically any feedback, just get in touch and I'd love to talk to you.
Perfect. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. As you can see, there's Ali's details. I think we've run out of time for questions at the end, but I'm sure you won't mind people jumping on Twitter or LinkedIn and asking you questions.
Absolutely. I'd love to talk to you, talk to the community.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks all.
So we will quickly